Hello everyone. Welcome to the Amiga Ireland trip report starring me, Boat, and Aaron.
I'm his assistant.
Yes, he's wearing the Amiga Ireland t-shirt. I'm wearing my Amiga Ireland badge right now. And so this is basically just sort of a recap of my trip over to Athlone. This is my second year. So It's not like I'm an Amiga Ireland rookie or anything.
Let's start with, before we even get into that, let's start with your drive to up to the airport, to your relative's home. Tell everybody what you have to do just to get to the point where you can fly away.
Just to get to the point where I could drive to an airport that had a direct flight to Dublin, I had to drive approximately 7.5 hours.
To where?
This is to Wilmington, Delaware. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from the great city of Philadelphia.
I have been to Wilmington and Philly.
Yeah, Wilmington's no great shakes.
No, but then again, neither is Philly.
Yeah,
it's not that far from Philly.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get from one to the other again?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's basically Philadelphia.
Yeah. My sister is lucky enough to live in one of the suburbs surrounding Wilmington. Very nice neighborhood. Very nice neighborhood.
What does your sister do up there?
She works for DuPont.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah, she is an engineer.
So you left. Tell the people when you left Hurricane for.
I left Hurricane about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I arrived in Delaware about 6 o'clock that evening.
Now I can't remember. Was there fog or was that in rain or was that on the way back?
That was on the way back. Okay. Yeah. Pretty clear skies.
Now tell people, were you apprehensive or trepidate? Because I remember last year you were pretty nervous when you left. So the second time out, were you less nervous or?
Well, this year I had more of an idea of what equipment I needed to take. I went back and forth sort of pre-trip on whether I should buy a bunch of equipment, and of course in the grand boat tradition, I bought $200 or $300 worth of equipment, which I received and then promptly sent back to Amazon.
I knew you didn't tell me that. I knew that.
Yeah. What I decided at the end of the day was I was like, listen, whoever is on the panel, the Yeti, the good old Yeti, strong and true, will be able to pick up each of them.
It did a pretty good job.
And so I didn't need to buy a whole bunch of extra equipment. I did pack a full extra suitcase full of nothing but recording gear for the trip, and it turned out that everything that I packed was necessary, so it was good.
Oh, good, because I think your system was better than the house system that they. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
So your ride up was uneventful. You got on the plane, and the next day you were off. This would have been what morning? What day?
So Wednesday evening, I departed from Philadelphia to fly to Dublin about 6 o'clock.
Right.
And I arrived at about 5 o'clock in the morning in Dublin.
And what did you do on the plane?
Well, I sat down and I informed my seatmate. We did have an open seat. Most transatlantic flights are three abreast.
Yeah.
And there was an open seat against me, and so my seat partner and I both rejoiced in the fact that there was an open seat next to us. We shared a moment of mirth.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Please tell the flight attendant that I will be sleeping during this flight and to not bring me supper."
Yep.
Then I quickly popped a couple of Ambien into the old noggin.
You went in stasis.
Yeah, and I washed it down, and I
closed some Jägermeister.
Closed my eyes. When I awoke, I was in the great land of Ireland.
Now let me ask you, were you at the window or in the aisle?
Window seat.
So you really had it all.
I booked my flight long ago and was able to select my window seat.
So you woke up and you were refreshed and ready to rock and roll, and you were
I felt great.
That's
great. I felt great.
So you got off the plane. What was the weather like? And you said it was super early.
Yeah, super early. 5 o'clock in the morning. Still dark outside. I stumble out of the airport and I make my way to the bus station.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you did this last time as well, but this is a different town than last time.
It was a different situation because I'd booked my coach ticket in advance. They called the bus the coach over there.
Okay. Wow. Good.
And so, but this time I was like, you know what? I don't know what time I'm going to get there. I'm just going to get there, make my ticket, and go. So I made my way to the. It looks like a toll booth where all the bus operators sort of hang out before you go. And I asked the bus operator, I said, "Where is the bus that goes to Athlone?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, it's this guy over here." And I said, "What time does it leave?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Hell if I know, brother." And I said, "Thank you, sir." And I vacated the station. They were becoming annoyed with me because I asked more than one question. So I made my way to the sort of, it's kind of an alcove where the buses come pick you up from. I don't know if you've seen bus stops here on the canal, or it's like the Putnam County mass transit system, the Kanawha Valley transit system. It's sort of an alcove.
Yeah.
Made my way there. There was a ticket machine there. It was broken. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Those guys at the shed were no help. The ticket machine was broken. But then I remembered that I had my smartphone, and I'd paid AT&T for access to my data plan.
Yeah.
So I bought a ticket online, and when the bus arrived, I just showed my ticket through my phone to the bus driver.
Yeah.
He accepted that.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And I boarded the bus, and it was a short 2-hour trip. It was they call it the X series. The X20 versus the regular 20 takes you to Athlone in only 2 hours versus 3.5 hours in the normal route.
So you were a good piece from the airport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't realize you had to drive.
So if you think about if you turn your hand towards your face,
yeah, and
you look at your lower thumb knuckle. Okay. I meant your right hand. Yeah, sorry. Now turn your palm towards your face. No. There you go. Now look at your lower thumb knuckle.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? That's where Dublin is.
Yeah.
Then find a spot closest to the center of your hand that you can.
Yeah.
And that is Athlone.
Okay.
Okay? Ireland. Eerily similar to the shape of your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. So about 2 hours. The whole country you can drive across in 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. So you went right in pretty much the middle of it.
It's the middle. You
think they put the airport somewhere in the middle?
Well, they put the airport closest to where most people live.
I see. So the population mostly lives near Dublin.
True.
Gotcha.
True. Dublin, Galway. Yeah.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
And so anyway.
What did you do on the bus?
On the bus, I looked out the window and I chatted to the driver. The driver was a delightful young fellow.
I thought you said the guys were jerks.
No, he was very nice.
So this isn't the same guy you talked to at the other thing.
No. The driver was very nice. He was born in England, but mostly grew up around. I think he'd been in Ireland for the past 10 years or so. And he had a lot of kind words to say for Ireland.
Yeah.
And he basically gave me a tour of Dublin as we were pulling out of Dublin. So,
now, how many people were on the bus?
But maybe about 5.
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly empty.
So you sat right up front?
Right up front. If I don't sit right up front, I get sick.
Oh, really?
I'm one of those guys.
Geek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 3 hours on this bus, 2.5 hours, whatever.
Right.
You arrive in Athlone, and so by this time it's what, 9 a.m.?
8 a.m.
All right.
8 a.m. I arrive in Athlone. Then I have to take the long trek from the bus station to where my B&B is.
Now, is this on foot?
This is on foot.
Okay. How long is that?
Okay. I walk.
How big a town is Athlone?
Athlone, I don't know population figures, but it's a 10-minute walk from the train station or the bus station to where sort of the bridge that leads to Athlone proper is.
So cunningly, they put the bus station well out of town.
Absolutely. So I was hoofing it.
Yeah.
Luckily, this year, I like I said, I paid for data on my phone, so I was able to use the Google Maps to get to where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm. Good thing you had a signal. You'd been bummed.
Right, exactly. So I crossed the bridge into Athlone. Yeah. At this point, I'm feeling very nostalgic because it looks just like it did last year when I was there.
Uh-huh.
And I make my way to my Airbnb. Okay, so I chose this Airbnb for 2 reasons. One, because Chris Folds was staying there.
Okay.
2, because they advertised the full Irish breakfast at a discount for lodgers. Okay. And I was like, full Irish breakfast? That sounds like they'll be open. 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not super early.
Mm-mm. Gosh, no.
Yeah. So I was like, even if I'm there early and my room's not ready, I'll just have a nice breakfast.
Good idea.
I'll chill out.
I want to hear what that is.
Yeah. So I get there, the place is shut up like a safe. Okay. They don't open till 10:30.
So the Irish are a late rising bunch.
It's 8:30 in the a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a picnic table sort of randomly placed outside my establishment.
That's for suckers.
I seat myself at the picnic table. Meanwhile, the commuters are walking past me, giving me the old creepy guy glare.
Right, what are you wearing?
Oh, I'm wearing my travel clothes. Sleeping tunic, nothing else. And and so they're giving me the side eye, as they say. And so I'm like, well, this can't stand. This cannot stand.
Yeah.
So I use my phone again, and I go on the booking.com where I made my and I call the number, and this guy, hello? And I say, is this the Bailey? And he says, yes. And I say, I'm here, and I'm 15 hours early. Would you mind letting me in? He said, yeah. And I find out this guy comes out. He's very, very kind. His name is Seamus.
Yeah.
It's a true Irish name. And he says, your room isn't ready, but I'll give you this room that you can sleep in for a couple hours till we open up. And I say, thank you, sir.
Wow, you got lucky there, eh?
I got incredibly lucky because spending 2.5 hours on that picnic table in my sleeping tunic, That would have been no good.
No.
Yeah. And so I sleep for a couple hours, then I come downstairs, and I have this Eggs Benedict to beat the band. Are you familiar with Eggs Benedict?
I am familiar with them. I don't eat those, but I know of.
You're not really an egg guy, are you?
I'm not, no. Easter egg.
Yeah.
Like
Cadbury
jelly
egg.
beans. I like those,
right. And then Seamus gives me a tour of his establishment. He is the proprietor. And he tells me about all the things they've got going on. And then he says, you should go over to Sean's Bar. It's the oldest pub in Ireland. Yeah. And I remember this from last year. So I make my way over to Sean's Bar.
They were open.
They were open. It was, of course, at this time, it was 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
There was only 2 people in there. There was a musician and the barkeep.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the gig that he played last night. I took a little video, kind of zooming around and things. It was very nice. There was a fire, a real fire, not one of those fake fires like you get here in the States, but a real wood fire was burning. This pub has been open since the year 900.
Awesome.
Yeah, the oldest pub in Ireland.
Me and my buddy looked up pictures of it while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
We looked up the history and stuff.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And the rest of the day on Friday, I basically spent walking around Athlone, and then I ended the day back at the B&B. Seamus clocked out, and he said, "John, let's have a pint together." And he just sat down at the bar with me, and we drank some Guinness, and it was a wonderful evening.
That sounds lovely.
It was
that sounds lovely.
Evening.
And then you checked into your B&B at
that
that point. Now, how was that?
It was fine. It was fine.
Now, get to the point. Irish breakfast. How was it?
The next morning,
I want to see what's in this
came
thing.
back down for the Irish breakfast. Okay. You've got multiple things that look like sausages.
Okay? Sounds good.
But they're
suspicious looking sausages.
Yeah, but they're not sausages. One is completely blood. Okay. It's cooked blood. Now, are you familiar with eating blood?
I do know that is a thing.
Yeah.
Not with me, it's not.
Not with you. So you not personally eating the blood.
No.
Okay.
So, no.
Well, there's one it's all blood. I think they call it the all blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's kind of a hockey puck. Okay.
But the blood is not liquid.
Because it's been cooked.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's cooked blood.
So how was it?
It's irony.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Why would you eat
like
that?
Alanis Morissette. And then you've got the sausage, and then you've got eggs and toast. And they've got the thing in Ireland, it's called the soda bread. Okay. Soda bread is like toast, but it's not because they call it soda bread. Okay.
Do they use Diet Dewdrop Extreme?
They don't. They use, I'm not sure what they use, but they only give you butter. You know at Bob Evans, you get the jam, you get the jelly tray.
I do like the jam.
Yeah. I like when they give you the thing, they set it down and it's got the multiple kinds.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, you got the apple butter.
Yeah,
you don't get that in Ireland.
They don't do that.
Don't come expecting Bob Evans.
Well, maybe this place isn't that good.
That's true.
Does that occur to you? How was the room? Was it okay?
The room was okay.
Have your own bathroom?
It had the ensuite, is what they call it in Europe. Okay. The ensuite. Had that, and the water was warm on Friday morning, and I got out and I was ready to face the day. So I went over to the
now,
hotel.
You were just there for one night, right?
I was there for 3 nights.
Oh, that was there.
That was it.
Okay,
that was the place. Okay, so I went over to the Sheraton. The Sheraton is where Amiga Ireland was. You know, I'd contacted Erla before on Thursday night saying, hey, what time are you going to be there? I want to meet you there. I set up all the streaming stuff.
All right. So this is where we're getting into it now.
This is where we're getting into it.
All right.
Earl has got the 1200 out there on the table.
Yeah.
He's like, it's time for the creative competition.
Right.
Okay.
This is what he's testing.
Yeah, he's testing it out. Nothing works.
Oh,
it's all broken
when he
from
was
the get-go.
Testing it didn't work?
The Amiga was not outputting the blue color properly.
Okay. I did notice that during the street, so that clearly didn't get
everything fixed. Is that spinach color.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he's like, all right, we're going to shift some things over to the MacBook. He had this system on the MacBook where you had to do a 3-finger swipe in between. How many times have you done a 3-finger swipe?
The triple? I don't think I've ever done one.
The triple. It's crazy. And so he's like, you do the 3-finger swipe twice, then you press down twice on the numpad.
I did the 3-finger swipe one time at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Just a one time.
No, it was just a one-time thing.
I was desperate. I was so hungry.
You needed the money.
Yeah, that's right.
And so anyway, the creative competition did not go well.
Well, I mean, now this is on setup. When you guys practiced this before the event, it worked, right? Is that the way I've been?
Well, yeah, it worked as he was demonstrating.
So this is during the event, because we watched this and we saw it didn't work.
So people started to filter in, right? I immediately tracked down, I'm looking for people to talk to, because the Friday is not really, it's the sort of official launch, but it's not really, most of the stuff doesn't go down until Saturday. So I talked to Stephen Fletcher, the guy from the Commodore story.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, I returned because he's like, all right, we're going to start. Do the 3-finger swipe, nothing. Do the down arrow, nothing. Meanwhile, my other buddy, Seamus, this is Amiga Seamus.
Yeah, this is a separate Seamus.
Different Seamus. He's going nuts because he's prepared all of this stuff, and nothing's going down.
All right. I was watching this in real time.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and so
it was sad but funny.
To use your parlance, we S-can the creative competition.
Yeah.
And we move on to the recording of the Amiga Ireland podcast.
Right. Because I didn't catch this part.
Yeah. And so the Amiga Ireland podcast, very short. They just kind of run down a couple of the news events and things going on. Seamus is part of the Amiga. It's Erla and Rob and Seamus.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of those episodes of that.
Yeah, they form the core of the Amiga.
They've been around
Ireland
for a while now. They've been around for a couple of years.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Edvin has arrived. The Norwegian contingent has arrived.
Yeah.
And of course they come in and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to them. And
the Norwegians don't screw around.
No. I'll tell you who else doesn't screw around is the Czechs. Okay? The guys from the Czech Republic, they roll in. Dami, I remember his name. There's a guy, his name's like Svern or something like that. And there's the guy that is the admin for Lemon Amiga.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
give him a good pat on the back.
So so apparently Kim Lemon has not been involved with Lemon Amiga for like a decade at this point. And this guy from the Czech Republic he's been shouldering the load. Share the load.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's been doing it.
Does he do any of the Lemon? Doesn't he do some of the Lemon Play stuff? Because it seems like I've heard an accent that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I sit down with those three guys. And we talk about what's going down with the Amiga in the Czech Republic and growing up sort of behind the Iron Curtain.
Now, did you tape this?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
this is coming out next week.
Oh, great.
And it's basically where I was like, why didn't you go to the computer store? And he's like, listen, it was bread and water back then. There was no Amiga store. You go to the supermarket.
They had it rough over there.
Yeah, it was bad times. Yeah. Okay. I do want to mention that the back at the creative competition, Edvin saved the day because what did happen was there were some mods that were played.
Yeah. And
we used, do you remember the web-based mod tracker? Remember what that's called?
I don't remember.
Bassoon tracker.
Yeah, it was great.
Edvin's like, Bassoon tracker. Earl is like, what? He's like, Bassoon tracker.
I'll listen because that's the one that has a ton. You can listen to a ton of mods.
Right, but you can also upload local files too. So Edvin basically saved the day in terms of the creative competition.
Let me ask you a question. Getting back to the creative just for a moment, because I watched this with it, and in fact, some of the people in the chat now were in the chat then. We were watching this disaster, and we kept thinking to ourselves, why doesn't someone just get another computer? There's 1,000 Amigas there, and stick it on the thing. What was the problem there? Surely someone thought of that. We both talked about the fact that they could have just taken this stuff and put it on the Mac and bypassed the Amiga, as sacrilegious as that was. But could they have not just gotten another Amiga?
In the words of Bubbles, PA to Patsy and Adina, who can say?
Yeah, because the one thing I couldn't figure out is I'm assuming this guy had like a SD, like a compact flash card in the Amiga 1200. Pop that. Literally, get the old screwdriver, pop it out. Because you guys struggled with this for like a good while.
It was a long time.
And I know it was
a long
tough.
Time. We were all gathered around.
Thankfully, the art and the mods got played.
I was so happy I was not the one in charge.
I know. I felt so bad for that fella.
Early, he came through like a champ. But after so many years of Amigathon, things going wrong and me just not know what to do, I was just glad to not be the one at the top of the table.
So it was sort of like when you were over at ARG's Thanksgiving,
right. I just sat there.
Thank God nothing went wrong there because we would never heard the end of it. So you interviewed the Czechs and that one. Now you were often sequestered on your own for some of these interviews.
Well, this was my plan for the whole of Amiga Ireland. I really wanted to sort of get the global Vox Populi interview where I could interview all the Greeks, and all the Germans and everything. Unfortunately, that plan didn't exactly come to fruition because I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'm sorry. Please continue. We're on Friday. You interviewed the Czechs.
Yeah, interviewed the Czechs. And everything is cool. So Friday evening, it's time. The crowds have amassed at kebab time. Chris Folds enters. Everybody's here. Edvin, Figgy, Pix, Chris, Anthony Jarvis. Let me tell you something about Anthony Jarvis.
Yeah.
He's given Retro Man Cave a run for his money in terms of smoothest voice.
Oh, yeah.
He is the man.
No kidding.
Okay. So, and I apologize. Oh, Rushi. got to meet Rushi for the first time. On Friday, so that was great.
Yeah, you had a ton of the Amigos buddies there.
Yeah. Boss Man rolled in. Of course, when Boss Man rolled in, everything stopped and people just turned their heads.
Of course, we saw Graham. It's funny. The one we saw the most of was Graham.
And
he just had to be drinking because I was watching a lot of this while I was at work, and so Graham was. At one point, had just sequestered himself at this table with a bunch of booze.
That's right. So
we all talked to him, and we were trying to control him.
That's right.
Do this,
so
Graham.
As everyone was gathered around the creative competition table, you can see Graham solo in the shot back there, just pounding down the Guinness.
Yeah, that's what
so
he
it's
does.
Fantastic to see Graham there.
He was chatting with us.
That was fun. Yeah, it was great. So Graham, all the crowd, we went for kebabs except for Figgy. Figgy chose wrongly. Figgy chose to go with the Amiga Ireland crowd to the Indian restaurant. Listen, when Ravi, who is actually Indian, is like, this is no good. You know it's no good. So Ravi joined up with us, went on Kebab Town, went to get the kebab.
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I forgot about Kebab himself. Alan Kebab was there too.
He had to go.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the kebab was not great. First of all, Alan Kebab didn't even get a kebab. He ordered a kebab. What he got was some kind of curry. So this place was no good. Okay. The kebab was sort of a bust. However, it was cool to get out with the fellas, get around talking. We were talking about the royal family. We were talking about all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Oh, Martin, I forgot. Thank you, Edvin. I forgot about Reflection. Of course, Reflection was there too.
Yeah.
He wouldn't miss one of these. You know, it's an unknown fact that when the Amiga was first brought to Norway, they didn't really know how to market it, and DP himself went to visit Martin, Reflection, and sort of got some tips on how to sort of spread it throughout the country.
Really?
Not a lot of people know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So not only did Reflection sort of birth the cracking scene in Norway, but he also was sort of instrumental in getting the Amiga into Norway, just on the whole.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I know Rabbit was there. Dan was there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dan was there. However, I think Dan went to the Indian place. Now, the Indian place, there's a whole bunch of other stories that Figgy told me later on, including Dave Haney just falling asleep mid-conversation.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he was out of it. He was tired.
Let me ask you, and I don't do this to be a jerk. I'm bad with names, and he hasn't been on there that long. Who is the third fellow on the Retro Hour that's joined India? I don't know his name. Was he there?
They call him, he's the Dinosaur Pie, right?
No, that's not. What? No. That's not even the same podcast. Retro Hour. It's Ravi, Dan, and there's the third guy that joined in the past year.
I don't know.
You don't know his name? I was wondering if he went there as well.
I'm sure
some of the chat will tell you.
But anyway, so that was...
God, your leaps are just ludicrous.
Joe says Brock 101 in the chat.
Joe Fox, thank you.
Joe Fox.
I knew it was killing me. Yeah. I'm guessing he wasn't there.
He was not there.
Okay.
He was not there.
Okay.
So, anyway, I returned back after, Friday night. It was a roaring success.
Yeah.
Wonderful start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, except for all the failures.
I go back to my hotel room and I'm ready for, get a good night's sleep so I can wake up refreshed and ready for the full day of Amiga Ireland, which is Saturday.
Yeah.
At about 11 o'clock, that's when the disco starts directly across the street in the dance, the nightclub.
Right.
Okay.
Playing your favorite type of music.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Then, as I'm able to sort of, as you are, kind of absorb that into your brain, you go, okay, I can deal with this. I can sleep.
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when the lads come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bar must have closed.
Yeah. The lads come back. They're not ready for the dance party to stop.
Yeah.
They want to keep it going in their room.
Yeah.
So they're coming back, just very, very loud. So I don't sleep at all.
Did you not take any of your mystery drugs that night?
I should have taken my mystery drugs.
Yeah, you dropped the ball on that.
That would have been a great move.
Yeah.
So anyway, Saturday I'm very tired as I return to the Sheraton. However, it was a good day. This was the day of the workshops.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I missed my good friend Dami from the Czech Republic, his compiling workshop on me. But
that would have been lost on you, Bo. Don't lie. Don't act like you're like, oh, shucks. You would have looked at that and stared, and much like Carrier Command, just like, what? What are we looking at?
But I did catch. I came in right in time for the Lightwave 3D the workshop,
Yeah.
which was my good friend Klerkos
Yes.
from Germany. And so I had all that. And of course, me and Pixels were sort of a unit.
Yeah.
Sort of a moon unit. As we carried all of the recording equipment from one room to the other as things would
So
happen.
They didn't station you in one area. You had to go where the action was.
Right,
Yeah.
because this year, and it was smart on Earl's part, in that he cordoned off like a 1/3 section. There was a temporary wall where the workshop people could actually talk and be understood without the Shadow of the Beast soundtrack drowning them out.
That was a good idea this year.
Yeah.
That wasn't much, because the workshops were actually, I mean, they were the best in terms of your interviews and the quality of the audio.
Yeah, exactly. So we did that, and then after the Lightwave workshop, they brought on a guy called Mike.
Yeah.
I'm sure the chat will tell me his last name, but he was a former music guy from Psygnosis. He did a lot of, including.
Oh, is this the fellow that did the
Pro Tracker?
I did watch this. That was very cool. Yeah.
Mike Clark, thank you,
Yeah,
Pix.
he was awesome.
Yeah, and so he did, and it was so cool to watch him because you saw our awesome creations at Amigathon last year, and this guy was like, okay, and you just lay down a bass line like this, and you saw his hands move like and then and you saw him lay down all the parts. It was amazing.
I was watching this live as well with some guys in the chat, and it was a lot like the Lightwave thing. We were just like, this is too hard. Some of the guys are good at this. I will say, getting back to our Amiga, we had much more participation in our song contest than they got.
That's true.
We only got 3 songs, and we got a bunch. Even the 3, me, you, and Brent did 3 songs, so they were horrible.
That's true.
I will say the songs I got done were good, and the art was great too. There was a lot of good art.
So anyway, we listened to Mike talk about Pro Tracker and how to create a track in Pro Tracker. That was good. And then finally, the last workshop of the afternoon was Pixel Vixen. She came on.
I didn't get to see hers.
I was a little bit nervous because Mike had done his where he was sitting behind a computer, facing us in the monitor, and Pixel Vixen set up her monitor so it was actually facing out towards us.
Right.
And at first I was like, well, how are you going to do this? Are you going to be spinning around doing things? But no, she'd done such a great job at setting up such a structured thing. And it wasn't like she was drawing in real time. She was basically just showing the various stages of creating pixel art on the Amiga. And I'm so happy that she left the CRT facing out, because we were seeing the results on the projector and on the stream. But man, nothing pops in terms of colors like a CRT. The colors on that CRT just came alive when you're looking at that glass versus looking at the LCD. So I was so happy that she did that, because it was amazing to me, how much of it is, and it really made me happy that I bought that CRT monitor, because really these games and this art from this era was meant for the CRT.
Vicky, I believe someone said she's moving to Japan.
Yeah.
Here soon.
Yeah, she's going to be teaching English.
You don't know if she's going to be around at too many more of these. You never know.
Right.
And so, that's what I'm going to watch. And I knew she'd done one, but I had to leave to go home when she was setting up. So it looked good, though.
Yeah.
It sounded like it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So after that was over, then we came back into the, and while Pixel Vixen was going on, concurrently was when Tenmark was doing his interview with Trevor Dickinson.
Right.
So I was sort of listening to that with one ear as I was watching Pixel Vixen.
That's what was getting streamed while you guys were doing your recording.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And after that, it was about time to get set up for the big panel.
The big main event. Yeah,
now
explain this to the people.
This was one of the great, Earl and I have been talking about this for months.
Because you sent me that email. This was going to be a huge discussion, wasn't it?
So at first I was like, why don't we get me and Dave Haney and Dave Pleasance and Trevor up there and have a talk? Because Earl had told me there are 3 house mics, and so we can get 4 of you guys up there, and you can use like the podium mic.
And at one point it was even going to be more than that, wasn't it? It's early on.
Yeah. And so, and then at the last minute he comes in and he's like, all right, we're ready. Who do you want? And I was like, well, Trevor's already been on. He just did an hour on the floor.
Yeah.
Dave's going to be on after us. So why don't you just give me Dave Pleasance?
Mr. Pleasance.
I was like, why don't you just give me Dave Haney?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I'll give you Dave Haney. So I get up there, and of course, we get the mics. None of the mics have any batteries.
Yes.
So I was like, great. I get Dave up on stage, and we're just sort of looking at each other.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes are just like dumbery.
Yeah. It was very awkward, and I almost fled. But anyway,
it's not your fault. You can't do anything about that.
There's nothing you can do. So anyway, just to get the ball rolling, before I even get the mic, I was like, so where'd you grow up? He picks up the mic and he just goes,
yeah.
Dave Haney is a pro.
He's done a few interviews.
He's a pro. Yeah. He started going, and man, it was the easiest interview in the world because I just pick it up and be like, well, what did you think about this? Boom! 20 minutes.
I love
how about this one? Boom!
See, and the things he was talking about, I mean, I love that because it was right up my alley. First, a Jersey guy, and then, but talk about his early work and stuff. I just,
the Exodus Sorcerer.
I haven't listened to a ton of interviews with him, I mean, obviously everybody knows who he is, but I enjoyed that. And then when he started talking about the XD and the C16, again, that was tickling my ARG funny bone there. So I was really enjoying it right there. Of course, then the mics started screwing up again. Go on. So what happened?
Well, we get about 30 minutes in, and I plan on going minimum 1 hour with Dave. Minimum 1 hour.
Yeah.
Because Dave's got a lot of stories, and I've got a lot of things. I've got a whole list of questions that people have answers. Yeah.
He'd never shut up.
And I love talking to people. It doesn't matter who you are. I'll sit there and talk to you. I get the signal from Erla. He's like, he's giving me the hand signals, and I'm like,
the urgent wrap.
Right. And what I come to discover is that Dave Pleasance and Dan Wood have reserved the 5 o'clock hour, I believe, for the Friend OS presentation. So Dave gets right up to the point where he's getting right into the meat of things.
Yeah.
The launch of the A2000, which was the first Amiga that he really had his hands in.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Dave, we got to go. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, you could see he was stunned.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Trust me, we were in the chat at that time. We were all like, oh.
Right. And so at that point, I'm sort of demoralized. I feel like everything that I've come here for has been a waste. Because anybody can set up a camera and talk, and tape workshops.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that stuff. I really felt like lots of people had contributed to the cause for me to get to sit there and talk to Dave and have a real deep conversation with him. And what I should have done was grabbed him right there and said, hey Dave, let's go into the next room over in the workshop room where there's nothing going on.
But you couldn't do that, could you?
I couldn't do that.
Tell people why.
Well,
there were two big reasons. Where were they?
The first big reason was that DP and Dan wanted everybody to stay in the room. They wanted everybody there to see the Friend OS workshop.
That was another reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second reason was that I wanted to go to Mass. I had to go to Mass. It was Saturday night.
But it was also it was near time to tear down.
Yeah, and it was also getting time to go because the way that I'd planned this is as soon as I finished the interview, I was going to take everything down because other than the finals of the game competitions, Amiga Ireland was over at that point. And so
they had a hard deadline to get out of there.
Yeah, and so I was taking stuff down and stuff like that. And as I was taking stuff down, we got it out of the way as soon as we could. And as I was listening to Dave and Dan talk about Friend, I was like, and this is nothing against Friend and all of the stuff that they're doing over there. Yeah. It's all fine, but it's not really Amiga, and it's not really what the people that came to Amiga Ireland signed up for, in my opinion. It felt a little bit like going on vacation and being forced to listen to the timeshare presentation at the end of things.
I didn't get. They didn't broadcast the ending of this, and so
they didn't broadcast it because I was the only person that was doing any broadcasting.
I see. So there was no one that got this on their phone.
No,
or anything?
And actually, Dave sent me a message on Facebook. He's like, can I have the video of the
Mr. Pleasance?
Yeah, Mr. Pleasance. Yeah. He asked me. He was like, "Can I have a video of the Friend talk?" And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, Dave, but I was packing up and I didn't record it." And he said, "Well, I was assured that it would be recorded." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And maybe he's found it. Maybe there was somebody else that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, I checked YouTube today.
I do hope that it was recorded because I would hate for him to not have that recorded because he did go in depth with everything that they've been working on and things like that. But at the same time, I just felt like it was a wasted opportunity to have Dave up on the main stage. He was around all weekend, but a lot of guys that come to Amiga Ireland are your typical nerdy guys, and they're not going to want to go out of their way. They revere this man, and they're not going to want to approach him. And me, being able to interview him and ask him questions was a way for them to be able to interact with him indirectly. And so it was just.
I will say, in Mr. Pleasance and Dan's defense on this, that they were at the mercy of scheduling like anyone else. And so
that's right.
It was just bad timing.
It was not. It was not Mr. Pleasance or Dan's fault that they just happened to follow this. It was the fact that there was a time set for Dave Haney to talk, and then after that, it was their time to come on.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything bad about Friend OS or anything about what they're doing. It was just a shame that we got a late start with Dave, that we had technical difficulties at the beginning, and then that we were just sort of cut off.
Probably
at the end.
And for future reference, bring a guest of that magnitude and Mr. Pleasance maybe start those midday or
That's
something.
Right.
You know,
that's right.
Because that was just and again the hard and fast deadline to get out of there means there's no wiggle room.
Right.
You know, and this happens in a lot of these things. I've seen this happen plenty of times.
That's right. And it's it's hard to Erla is one of the nicest, gentlest souls I've ever met in my life, and he's trying to do everything he can to make sure everybody's having a good time.
I mean, I thought it was a big success.
He had it was seriously, it was so much better than last year, and last year was amazing.
Yeah.
I wish him nothing but the best for the future. I will say that this is probably the final Amiga Ireland that I will attend. Not because the event is bad, it's just because it's a long journey. It's a long journey. And even though I was so happy to have the trip funded through GoFundMe, I still had to take every single personal day that I had off work to be able to make this happen. And I would really like to instead use that time and that energy to visit some of the shows that we have here stateside with you, because people want to meet you, and we can go as a team, and it can just be a lot of fun that way too.
Well, I thought the Ireland thing it looked great. It looked like they had a lot of fun.
It was so good.
And a good crowd.
And so anyway, let me finish. So after I went to Mass at St. Peter and St. Paul's, the big cathedral there.
How was it? Nice.
Well, it's interesting. The church is beautiful.
Yeah. They look great when you see the pictures of it.
But Catholicism has taken a turn in Ireland. You think about Ireland being this big Catholic country, but the Mass is not well attended, and people are just sort of, they come and they're in a hurry to get out, and it was sort of demoralizing, to be honest with you.
That's all you needed.
Yeah.
Demoralized at church.
Yeah.
Good.
People were saying, but anyway, Mass was okay. We got out of Mass, and I met the crowd. Chris Folds had this idea to go to Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a Chris Folds joint.
Yeah.
And so everybody, all the amigos met. It was and I don't want to try and name them all, but I think there were 13.
I think Rushi didn't get to go. Wasn't there a couple people that didn't get to go?
Yeah, Rushi didn't get to go. But I think it was everybody except for Rushi was there. And I think there were 13 of us.
I think
total.
Rushi had his kid there.
Yeah, he had his family there. It was a different deal. But anyway, we were at this Chinese restaurant for 2 hours and 45 minutes. And Chris Folds had the idea of the night. He's like, listen, nobody order anything. What we're going to do is we're going to order the set menu for all of us. So everybody pay like 30 euros, and they're just going to keep on bringing out food for the whole night. And that's what they did. And Chris was like, listen, give me the set. He was speaking their language, and they were like, all right. And they just kept bringing out food. We were passing it around. Of course, Figgy, anything that didn't get eaten, Figgy was on it. Oh, boom. Those Norwegian guys, they can eat like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I salute them.
We had a fantastic dinner. I was talking to everybody. I was right in the middle of the table. I was in between sort of the European guys and the Scandinavian guys.
That was a great picture.
Western Europe. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. And then after that, we all went over to Gertie Brown's. Gertie Brown is the traditional meeting place for the end of Amiga Ireland. Got to say goodbye to all the folks. Then I went back to my room fearful that I would be unable to sleep. However, I'd had a word with Seamus earlier in the day, and I think he passed the word along because I had silence that night.
Nice.
So Seamus came through in the clutch for me.
Good to have friends in high places, eh?
I was able to sleep well on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, Chris Folds, we loaded up the Folds-O-Mobile, me, Folds, Alan Kebab, and Pixels at Dawn, back to the airport. Nice flight home. Here I am.
Went bad. Now, of course, you had a treacherous drive.
Yeah.
But that's the here and now. So overall, it sounded like a pretty good trip.
Absolutely.
Every trip's got a few fumbles in it.
Yeah. And so I would like to, one more time, thank all the fine folks that donated to the GoFundMe to send me back to Amiga Ireland. I want to thank Michael Michatoff, Jason Warnes, Edvin Helen, Chris Folds, John Norris, Ephraim Juniston, Ian Griffiths, Graham Bebke, Gary Heather, Vicky Lamburn, Martin B., Edvin Helland again, Paul Harrington, and Chris Folds yet again.
It's fun to look at these names and know that I've never heard their real name, and I'm trying to guess who they are.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. Like I said, it was an experience that I don't think will ever be equaled in that same way. It's amazing when you're just sitting down and it's like, yeah, I'm talking to Chris Folds. And it's like, it's Chris Folds. He's not just some guy on the internet, but he's there right in front of you. I'm talking to Graham Bebke, and he's there right in front of you.
You're very fortunate, bud.
Yeah.
And it is awful nice that people kicked in on that. I mean, it's a lot to ask, and they did it, and we're smiling and happy, and you guys had a good time. I think it's dandy. It's a real good experience. You did a good job representing us over there.
Well, I tried.
Because you really can't do a bad job.
And, one of the things that I'm looking forward to when we go to some of these stateside events is that I won't have any responsibilities to do recording or anything like that. And so I'll be able to cut loose a little bit more. And we'll have a good old time, hopefully at VCF.
I'm going to sign us up for a bunch of responsibilities.
You just load them down on my back.
We're going to be interviewing people. Who would we interview that are, I mean, really, in America, there's really no one worth interviewing.
No, there's nobody.
I guess we can get
here.
Dave and the guys, the same people that were over there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully you could hook back up with Dave at some point and get a proper interview.
I'm hopeful that, I sent him a Facebook message. I was like, listen, whenever you feel rested, it would be great to sort of pick up where we left off and continue on. So hopefully that'll happen. But anyway, thank you guys for listening to this Amiga Ireland Trip Report, and we will see you next Friday with a live on twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming with a new episode of Amigos, or we'll see you whenever we do on your favorite podcatcher. Until next time,
adios.
Adios.